SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
If you're feeling anxious about your investments with all the economic volatility and chaos in Washington, tune in to SuperTalk Jackson on Wednesdays from 9 to 10 a.m. and Sundays from 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. for Element Wealth Radio with Jeremy Nelson. Learn more at myelementwealth.com.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man.
Hey, good morning. Welcome again. Glad to have you along for the ride. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Today is Wednesday, the 13th of August. Thanks for joining us. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross, MRC rolling on, and glad to have you as part of the conversation. The C Spire text line is open at 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. Whether you're looking for the best in wireless with nationwide 5G, the best in internet, fiber to the home, up to 2 gigs just on the regular now. Remember when we were at 1 gig and it was like, man, this is amazing. It's so fast. And now you can opt for 2 gigs and in some cases even 8. And the best in business IT services as well. C Spire is there for you. A Mississippi company, born here, raised here, all grown up right here in Mississippi. Visit them online at cspire.com. C Spire, inspired by you. Lance, good morning.
Good morning. I think I'm due for an upgrade on the phone, but I'm going to hold off to as people do with the...
Would you get an iPhone this time, please?
No. I've got to stick with Samsung. I like my Korean products.
I cannot get your messages on my computer. You send me 100 text messages a day.
I try.
And they are on my phone. But then when I start to try to put together a rundown, I'm like, ooh, let me grab that link that Lance sent me. It's like, oh, wait, I can't get it on my computer because these stupid green messages from this stupid phone. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I'm going to hold off, though, and wait till 36 gig. And then, once we get up to about 36 gig, and it's basically, operating at the speed of my brain, I'm going to go with the new one. But no, my phone is getting so old, I can see the keyboard on the screen when I'm reading stuff, like it's all the ASDF, JKL semicolon, it's frozen into the screen.
It's burned into
it. Yeah, I think it's time for a new video.
Yeah, it kind of feels like it might be if that is the case. It was good news if you're in the Jackson metro area this morning. Not as humid as it was yesterday. Humidity only checking in at 73% today. This time yesterday it was at 93%. So that's progress. Maybe not quite as sticky as it was. Oxford, you've got partial cloudiness this morning. Scattered showers and thunderstorms possible this afternoon. High near 90, chance of rain about 50%. Starkville, considerable cloudiness, stray shower of thunderstorm possible. 89 for your high today with winds light and variable. 50% chance of rain today in Hattiesburg with some scattered thunderstorms developing during the afternoon. Temps around 90 degrees. In Biloxi, cloudy for you. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. 88 degrees for the high with winds out of the west, southwest. Going to be breezy, 10 to 15 miles per hour. Shaq Bully joining us from Biloxi this morning. iPhones are for girly men. Well.
Hey, and it was never like a real choice that I made. I just started with, way back when I was a fundraiser at Ole Miss, I got like the original Microsoft smartphone, and you could, log into your work laptop through one of those little websites. And it was great because you could update stuff from all over when you met with donors. And it was just Android then. There was no iPhone. And so the number I have is actually from that 20
Yeah,
years ago.
you can port the number. You can move the number to a different phone. I promise.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's how long I've had Samsung products since day one. Anytime I try to work on an iPhone, it's a little bit different. But I've kind of figured it out over time.
Yeah. Jason in Starkville, why doesn't SuperTalk buy Lance an Apple work phone? I'm sure he's earned one by now. I think you hear pretty clearly him saying that he doesn't want.
Oh, no, it's not that I don't
iPhone.
want it. I'm just not. I've never bought one.
Okay.
Yes, they usually are pretty expensive too.
They are. They are. Jeff and Grenada, I'm with Cross, iPhone or go home.
Well,
Whatever works. I will say,
I'm not really partial. I don't put a lot of stock in any of this stuff. I just use it. It's for work.
Functional.
It's functional.
Android owners outnumber iPhones 3-1.
Maybe so. I don't know.
If you say so, Shaq Bully, I feel like you're looking at that information or you've studied on that. It's just shocking because it doesn't feel that way by any stretch. But, hey, maybe it is. Fidel Castro, not a great guy, was born on this day in 1926. Longtime leader of the Cuban Revolutionary. And I love where it says he was a statesman.
Yeah. I'm not sure about that. Yeah, he ran it into the ground.
Yeah.
If you want to call it that. Heck of a beard, though.
Alfred loved baseball. Fidel loved his baseball.
Yeah, a lot of his players like to leave the Cuban team, too.
Yeah. Extradition or hoping there was an extradition, whatever it is. Alfred Hitchcock was born on this day in 1899, the legendary English film director, often called the master of suspense.
Yeah, Sir Alfred.
Mm-hmm. Bert Lahr, born in 1895, the American actor best known for his role as the Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz.
And I actually knew that one. That's funny.
Did you?
Yeah, that was one I actually knew. Some of the older ones like that. And then I saw Pat Harrington, and I'm like, no, man, my baseball coach, his birthday today. And then I had to take a second. That was Pat Harrison was my birthday.
Oh,
yeah, I wasn't reading it right. I was
Yeah.
just selective dyslexia this morning.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Annie Oakley, 1860 is when she was born, the famous American sharpshooter and exhibition shooter. Her story is a fascinating one. She was a little bitty old thing, but she could shoot the lights out. I mean, shoot them out. And the mayor of the state of Arkansas. Wait, they don't have mayors that run the entire state. The governor of the state of Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, born on this day in 1982.
What about Don Ho? We've been 95 today.
Oh.
Famous Don Ho passed in 07.
Okay.
That was a good one. And Julia Child, she passed today. The great cooking teacher that everybody.
Like this morning?
No, she passed on this day in 04. Yeah,
okay. I was going to say.
She was 91 back in 04. And, she was one of those that everybody grew up on. She was like the first cooking show. And you learned a lot from Miss Child.
She's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. My favorite was always Justin Wilson. When you catch the Cajun chef himself.
Oh, no. Emerald was Bam.
Emerald's Bam, Cajun chef.
I guarantee. Yes. He was great. A lot of that was PBS stuff, right?
Yeah. Guess what happened in 1995? My favorite player of all time.
Tell it.
New York Yankees baseball player Mickey Mantle passed away at 63 years old on this day, 1995. Absolutely, the guy.
The Mick.
That's my dude.
That is
the movie with Thomas Jane plays him, and it's Mickey and I can't remember the other. Was it the Lou Gehrig or whatever? But it's a movie 61 or whatever.
okay.
Yeah, with Barry Pepper and Thomas Jane. Heck of a baseball movie, very underrated.
Yeah,
goes under the radar a bit.
Of course, you had the song. Especially Willie, Mickey, and the Duke.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The Manhattan Project began on this day in 1942, commences under the direction of United States General Leslie Groves with the aim of developing an atomic bomb. There's a website that I go to for a lot of these dates and stuff. There's a picture here of the Calutron girls. monitoring a mass spectrometer during the Manhattan Project. And it's this, like, underground tunnel of, spectrometers
like
is what they are, but, they look like 1940s-style computers.
Yeah, you can do that with your phone now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, hey, can you just send me an alert when there's a reading that we need to
That's
check
impressive,
out?
seeing that, though. That's some underground facility somewhere with huge computers everywhere, big knobs and buttons.
Yeah. You realize Satchel Paige was 42 years old when he pitched in the big leagues for the very first time?
I didn't know he was that old. I knew he was up there.
1948, made his debut with Cleveland, defeating the White Sox 5-0 in Chicago. 42 years old, one of the all-time greats.
Great name, too.
Mm-hmm. 1956, Elvis Presley released the music single, Don't Be Cruel. That one sold a few records.
Yeah.
As did just about everything
Elvis touched.
that was released by Elvis Presley.
I got to say one famous birthday, though. My sister, Brandy Buckvich, or, back in the good old days, Brandy Talbert, it's her birthday today, August 13th. And so happy birthday, sis. I hope you're off to a good start this morning.
Happy birthday, Brandy. You think she's listening?
I hope. If not, then I'll at least tell
somebody
her.
will tell her
she
about
may
it.
not be awake yet on the birthday.
We got a whole lot more coming up with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross. News headlines are next on SuperTalk Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Wake up! Rise and shine!
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross
Nice early morning surprise.
on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Hope you're going to hang with us throughout the morning. The governor of the great state of Mississippi, Tate Reeves, will join us at 7:20 this morning. And then in the 8 o'clock hour, we have another guest in studio, Patrick Sullivan, president of the Mississippi Energy Institute and chair of the State Workforce Board. Those two conversations should dovetail nicely. Obviously, continuing to... Obviously, continuing to talk about economic development and some of the growth activity that's happening in Mississippi with the governor, among a variety of topics, and then Patrick Sullivan as well. And I know we've talked about it, Lance. I feel like it's becoming a more mainstream conversation, but the role that energy is playing in economic development in all of these states across the Southeast, big deal.
You have to have the juice.
Got to have the juice.
And, they've been working hard to build that. And as we continue to see, AI, as you saw yesterday and over the last week, what Grok is doing now. You can just give it a picture, turn it into a video for you. That stuff doesn't just happen. It requires amount of processing and energy and computing that you just got to keep building for this stuff, or you're going to have some blackouts. So, yeah, I'm happy to see the energy being a focus. And Mississippi is a state that, sits on a vast reserve of natural gas and got oil in the Gulf. And so you just need a diversified energy platform.
Do you see the story, the company that's backed by Jeff Bezos that's trying to buy the Google Chrome browser? Yeah.
Wow.
Justice Department's kind of maybe forcing the sale of the Chrome browser because of Google's monopoly on...
Oh, we're worried about monopolies now?
Well...
thought that was a thing of the past.
Yeah.
But, hey, the consolidation happens. It's been happening. I spent many years in finance where that was, you're climbing the mountain. Everything got smaller as far as the number of competitors, and everything got bigger as far as the size of the companies. Nothing's really changed in that. I think we still can see that. But it, in one way, it allows you to compete on a global scale with large global companies where, in the past we weren't able to do that as well. So the price of globalism and growth, it's a double-edged sword sometimes. You get some monopolies, but you also get big players that have the ability to compete on a global scale with other large companies.
Yeah. Well, once you get so big, you get so much cash, it feels like there's no slowing down what you can buy.
That's right.
A Madison Ridgeland Academy student was injured Tuesday after getting hit by a car near the school. The Madison Police Department confirmed it was working the scene of an accident in the area of Old Canton Road and St. Augustine Drive. That was around 4:30. The crash forced officers to close down a portion of Old Canton Road near the Calumet neighborhood. An email sent out by MRA administration asked for thoughts and prayers, informing that the female student was crossing Old Canton Road to get to Strawberry Patch Park when she was struck by the vehicle. She was conscious on the scene before emergency personnel transferred her to a local hospital. And at 7 o'clock last night, Madison Police Department said that she was in serious but stable condition, and that the driver of the car that struck her was also a juvenile. Oh, everybody be careful out there.
And that area is so tight. I go through there at times, and it's a white knuckler, even if you're doing 10 or 12 miles an hour through that spot. It's just such a tight area, and there's so much happening. A lot
going on.
A lot going on right there, so you just got to be super careful. But, yeah, that area scares me to death going through there.
A pair of Mississippi Supreme Court justices could be moving into different roles thanks to a nomination yesterday from the President of the United States. The Republican president announced on Truth Social yesterday afternoon that he is nominating Justices James Maxwell and Robert Chamberlain to serve on the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Mississippi. A big deal for one of these appointments. At the top of the list is because it is a lifetime appointment. You don't ever have to go get a job again if you don't want to.
Sounds like a good gig.
Yeah, and as long as you don't mess up too badly, then you're okay. Look, you want to talk about the higher level of importance, though. We have seen the role that federal court judges are playing in the landscape of our country, and also the fact that you can't get rid of them. Right? I mean, you've heard about it. Oh, lifetime appointment. Well, a couple of Mississippi Supreme Court justices sliding into those Northern District posts in Mississippi could be a really big deal. Maxwell was appointed to the Supreme Court in 2016, won re-election later that year, and then ran opposed in 2024. Formerly a judge on the Mississippi Court of Appeals, worked as an assistant U.S. attorney as well. For Chamberlain, he won an open seat in 2016. Like Maxwell, faced no opposition during the most recent election cycle. Previously a circuit court judge in the 17th Circuit and a state senator representing DeSoto County. So pretty cool stuff there. But that also eventually is going to open up a couple of seats on the Supreme Court in Mississippi, which means Governor Tate Reeves will have to make some appointments there. Those appointments would then be followed by special elections where they would have to run for the seat.
You know,
I think that's right.
With a name like Chamberlain, it sounds like a judge. I think anybody with the last name Chamberlain, it sounds like you should be a judge.
Yeah. Update on the story from Jackson. The Jackson City Council has unanimously approved a rule to ban ski masks in public. It was a move that had the full backing and, frankly, came at the request of Police Chief Joseph Wade. And it is now the regulation. Prohibits individuals from wearing ski masks or shiesty masks in public areas within the capital city. Chief Wade previously contended that the apparent uptick in mask wearing is partially in response to his department's introduction of facial recognition technology that is being used in public spaces. And they're like, oh, well, you think you can recognize me? Well, get a load of this. It's 126 degrees outside. I need a ski mask. I'm cold. Or I don't want you to know who I am. There are a couple of exceptions. Oh, is cold one of them?
No. I mean, I guess
no,
if you're
like
really
if it was like legit cold.
Oh, sure. I mean, can you wear a ski mask when it's cold? But I mean, when it's 90-something degrees, even listening to
our
amazing police chief here Joseph Wade talking about it. It was just, like, man, what do you need these for? I mean, when the chief of police is telling you that.
Ban does not apply to people who wear masks for health, employment, or religious purposes. And with Halloween not too terribly far away, trick-or-treaters will still be able to wear masks.
I think it's the one where you see the people riding around on a BMX bike in the middle of the sun and no shirt on, and then they've got a hood on. They've got the mask. Yeah, that's the ones you're worried about.
I think you just did profiling, but that's okay.
That's the ones that were. Yeah.
If you violate the ordinance, it is already in effect. Went into effect immediately. You could face up to $500 in fines and up to 90 days in jail. The fine is double. Jail time extended to 6 months if you're found by the court to have been wearing a mask while committing a crime. You may remember this story from a few weeks ago. A former award-winning Petal teacher was facing multiple charges related to child sex crimes. He's now dead.
Wow. Uh-oh.
Petal police received a call around 12:30 from the Dove Hollow neighborhood. A male caller reportedly told law enforcement that he saw a man lying on the back porch of a neighboring home after hearing a gunshot. When authorities arrived at the scene, they found the man, identified as Tyler Shows, laying dead from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. Shows, who was once given the Oscar of Teaching Award by the Milken Institute, previously taught 5th grade math at Petal Upper Elementary School. May of 2024, charged with 2 counts of touching a child for lustful purposes and dissemination of sexually oriented material to a minor. Bonded out at $125,000. And then in March of, let's see here, accused of using alcohol and vapes to groom over a dozen students before resigning from his position as a teacher in March of 2024. He is now resigned from this earth. Shows pleaded not guilty to the latest round of charges, given a $90,000 bond, ordered to wear an ankle monitor, and prohibited from having any contact with minors or any of his alleged victims.
It wouldn't have gotten any better in jail.
No, it wouldn't have.
And I'm not sitting here condoning any of that, but I mean, it wasn't going to be it was not going to be a bright future for this young man.
Perhaps he did an angry father a favor.
Yeah,
by not causing that angry father to
according
end
to
up
our
in
text
jail
line
himself.
About 2 weeks ago when we started that. Yeah, I think that was the general consensus.
It's Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. We're back with you right after this.
Yes, I'm leaving here a better man.
From the Seabrook Super Talk, Mississippi.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Here we go. Now back to Mornings with Richard Cross.
now that's entertainment.
You were the first thing that I thought of when I thought I drank you off my mind. When I get lost in the liquor, you're the only one I find.
One more news story before we get to your sports headlines. The Texas redistricting saga rolls on, and California's role continues to grow. Texas Governor Greg Abbott said yesterday that he will call another special session to this week, as soon as the first one ends, to redraw the state's congressional district maps as he seeks to wait out the Texas Democrats who have fled for blue states across the country. That's right. If you're late to the party here, if you're late to this story, if you haven't been paying attention, legislators in Texas, elected by Texans, have run out of the State House. By the way, the chairs that they have inside the Texas State House, those things are awesome. Big old tall back leather chairs.
Kind of king makers.
Great big old star on the back of them, the seal of the state of Texas. I digress. So they have run away from those soft, cushiony leather chairs to beautiful and free places like Illinois and New York and Massachusetts. They're being fined $500 a day, but they're not worried about that because they got people that are going to pay those fines, going to pay those travel expenses. I guess the ones that have run off that have family, they're not worried about leaving their family behind.
Oh, no,
but hey, that's okay. It's all in the name of preserving democracy. I think that's what it's in the name of, in their minds. But there was a legal opinion that said you can't have other people or other entities paying for your expenses while you're abdicating your duty. That's not going to fly. That's against the law.
That'd be like gifts, right?
Or something. But you remember Beto? You know, the guy that's never won an election that everybody loves on the Democrat side? Yeah, Beto O'Rourke. He's back. Hadn't heard from him for a little while. They had to kind of beg him to come back because he was fairly charismatic. And he kind of got tired of getting his hiney kicked at every election that he ran for anything. Like, he just never won. But now he's back as, mouthpiece for the Democrats. And he has said that, well, he may have run his mouth into trouble this time. So he's been advocating that they were going to fight and they were going to pay and there were no rules in these fights and throwing a few expletives and get everybody to cheer and please donate to Act Blue. Text 90210 to Act Blue or whatever it is. So he may be in trouble. Ken Paxton, the Attorney General in Texas, is calling for the arrest of former... Oh, he did win an election. He was a state representative. He just ran for a couple of bigger offices and didn't get that, right? Yeah. So
or was in the equation maybe, and that guy's always seemingly right on the edge of being something, but it just never happens.
He's kind of a perennial second place guy.
Right. Yeah.
Not a lot of trophies for that. Former Representative Beto O'Rourke, his political action committee is assisting the missing Democrats.
And Beto.
You think that action committee has helped him be wealthy? I'm just curious. I mean, not that that's what that is really for. Anyway, Paxton alleged in a filing that O'Rourke violated a temporary restraining order on offering financial support to the Democrats. Paxton went to X to talk big and bad because that's where you go to talk big and bad. Beto is about to find out that running your mouth and ignoring the rule of law has consequences in Texas. It's time to lock him up. But Paxton's not the only one talking big and bad on X. In fact, Gavin Newsom is not just talking big and bad. He is talking in all capital letters. He is screaming. He wants Texas to call off the redistricting efforts. And he wants the Trump administration to ask them to do so. And he let the president know so on X. In all caps, Donald Trump, the lowest polling president in recent history. Which polls, by the way?
Which ones are these? Are these like North Korea polls?
This is your second to last warning. What? The next one is the last one. Stand down now, or California will counterstrike legally to destroy your illegal crooked maps in red states. Press conference coming, hosted by America's favorite governor, Gavin Newsom. Final warning next. You won't like it. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay, clearly, if you didn't pick it up already, Gavin Newsom, or his people probably, one, is trying to be cute. He's trying to be funny. And two, he's trying to mock the sitting president. This is obviously the style of posts that come from Donald Trump and his people. This is not one of those deals where imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. This is a scenario where Gavin Newsom's getting bad advice.
Yeah.
There's, Donald Trump is a unique personality. He is a unique figure. You want to mock him, that's fine. But trying to be funny by imitating the way he does things, not going to work for you. And it's not working for him at all. C-Spire text line, 601-879-4395. CC says, yes. CC, you nailed it. Nailed it. He goes, old Beto, just listen to how loud I can cuss. Yeah, that is it. What a great encapsulation. Do you think this is Trump's way of drawing out the red states, all their gerrymandering? No, we play chess when they play checkers.
Well, I mean, the reality is that the percentages of Republican voters in many of these states is higher than what is represented in the legislative sessions. So you're not really getting a true representation of the people as they vote in, say, California or Texas. It's skewed. You've got too many districts that have put in too many Democrats over time, and you have a higher percentage of Republicans as far as the general voter versus what's represented in the legislative endeavor. So you got a problem there where the legislature is not representing the people per se. And
I keep going back to Greg Abbott's announcement last week that 4 of the 5 districts that they are redistricting will be a majority Hispanic.
Yeah. I mean, you even have Democrats in California that want redistricting, whereas Newsom. I mean, so it's a mess.
Yeah.
And the reality is, the state legislators need to be representative of the constituency they represent. If you've got 80% of the legislators are Democrats, but 40% of the voters are Republicans, that doesn't add up.
Yeah.
And that's where you got problems. Representation needs to be representative of the people.
Sure. It's time for your sports update, brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Find them online at pearlriverresort.com. That's pearlriverresort.com. Pearl River, the home of casino thrills, family fun, and live entertainment. Paul Skeens is one of the most dominant pitchers in baseball this season. Not even he could slow down the Milwaukee Brewers. The Pirates' ace right-hander became Milwaukee's latest victim after giving up the first 2 of 5 home runs in the game in a 14-0 rout that extended the Brewers' winning streak to 11 games. The 11-game win streak is their second of the season and the second longest in franchise history. They are the 3rd team since World War II with multiple win streaks of at least 11 games in a season, joining Cleveland in 1954 and Toronto in 2015. And the Brewers are the first in the National League to accomplish the feat since the 1935 Chicago Cubs.
Man.
That honestly surprises me.
Been a while.
So it's that rare to have a team with a pair of 11-game winning streaks.
Well, I mean, Skeens is 7-9, but think about it. It's 2.13 ERA, but you're 7-9. Even after giving up 14.
No run support.
Yeah. Even after getting shelled, you still have a 2.13 ERA. That should tell you how well he's pitched this season.
Yeah. Oklahoma Sooners fans are excited about the upcoming college football season, largely because of their transfer quarterback, John Mateer, who was the number 1 ranked quarterback in the transfer portal this past offseason. He coming over from Washington State. But he is finding himself in a small bit of controversy. Do you ever use Venmo? So Venmo is where, if you don't, Venmo, a great way to pay babysitters or your yard care people, or friend loans you $5 because you left your wallet at home. You can pay them back for your coffee that way, or a lot of ways. And you put a message, like a memo, into what you're paying and who you're paying and why. Well, John Mateer, in a couple of transactions with his buddies, typed in that memo line, sports gambling. Probably not a good idea. He denies that it was related to actual sports gambling. And I'm inclined to believe him because there are a lot of guys, guilty as charged, who will type something funny in the memo line because it's public and available. They're like, they paid for what?
No self-awareness, though.
What does payment for services rendered mean? What does this mean? Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass Glass Traffic.
It's time to switch on.
Mornings with Richard Cross. On Super Talk, Mississippi.
No, we're going fast there at the end. The University of Oklahoma, if you were listening a second ago, the concern about John Mateer and the memo post on his Venmo account of sports betting and a couple of transactions between he and a teammate back in his freshman year when he was at Washington State. Oklahoma says, we take this seriously. We're looking into it. I just don't think there's much serious to take about this.
Well, and if you look into it seriously and you go, hey, there's nothing to see here, and just let it go.
Yeah.
How long ago was that? A year, 2, 3?
3 years ago? But whatever. But again, your point about self-awareness. Yeah. Come on, John.
You got to have a little bit more than.
But, you're different as a senior in college than you are as a freshman in college. Different as a junior than as a freshman.
I'll say this, and this is being truly honest. I am so happy that we did not have smartphones in the era in which I was in college. I just thank you, technology, and you brain whizzes who created all this. Thank you. I would have never enjoyed college as I was able to. But with that said, it's, in the work world, I really love it. It makes life so much easier. But I do not believe it would have been a great tool to have in the college era. I liked, you used to have to go check a message on a phone to see if somebody called and things like that.
I mean, you talk
go
about
home to do
the
that.
Usefulness in this. I mean, in preparation for this show.
Oh man,
this, if you're watching on SuperTalk TV, this one computer and my phone, those are kind of the tools for preparation. There is no need to run out and find copies of newspapers, available in Mississippi where you're, loading up on the Clarion Ledger, another local newspaper, maybe a paper from the coast, and you got to get the New York Times and the Washington Post, and just
well, and then the other side, don't have to spend near as much time in libraries. Back in the old day, you'd spend a lot of time in there, and you'd elbow around for a computer to write a paper and all that. And I actually look back on that with some fondness because it allowed you to kind of mix and mingle.
Probably should have spent more time in the library, and not that library.
That one wasn't around when I was there.
Yeah, Mississippi Lottery update brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery, mslottery.com. No jackpot winner most recently on Monday night for Powerball, which means tonight is a big one. $526 million up for grabs in the Powerball drawing. Estimated cash value of $241 million. You don't have to do the math. I did it for you. After taxes, you're walking home with about $142 million, which feels like it might get you a few things.
Get a couple steps down the road.
You can do some good, have some fun, save a little, and be all right.
But 526 and the cash value 241.
I know, man.
I know. That's a lot.
I know that's taking a lot off the top. It's a pretty good haircut, but that's okay.
Sound like Gary the other day. He's like, I told my girlfriend to give me a haircut. And I looked down on the ground and there was 5 inches of hair, and I was like, hold on, that's enough.
Yep. Some winners from the Mississippi Lottery. Scratch off cash 4. A Brandon man won $5,000 on a ticket from Rankin Mart in Brandon. Congratulations on that. A McLean woman won $10,000 on a ticket from Circle K store in Van Cleve. So, got a couple of winners out there. Can't win if you don't play.
Hey,
you grabbing a Powerball ticket for tonight?
I might actually. I've thought about it. We're getting to that level there where it's
worthwhile.
Yeah, definitely. I don't mind dropping a couple bucks on that. Mm-hmm. Talking about gambling, though, Man of War. This was the day where he had his only defeat in his whole racing career. This was way back in the 1900s. But the name of the horse that actually beat Man of War? He only lost one race, 20 out of 21 he won. He was considered the greatest horse of his time. Obviously, Secretariat comes back around and does one-ups him. But he never raced in the Kentucky Derby because his owner didn't like racing out west. But the only colt that ever beat him, the name.
Out west?
Yeah. He said it was outside of high society. I'm not racing over there in them Kentucky grasses.
Interestingly enough, there is a Man o' War Boulevard in Lexington, Kentucky.
Yeah, it was the only race he wouldn't race. So the one that he lost named the horse that beat him. And we use this word today now because it signifies upset was the only word. So we use that word now to describe a upset and a sporting event. That's where that kind of came from. So, in this day, you never know.
You know. C Spire text line 601-879-4395. I agree on the Venmo subject. Some of us just have that troll gene. It's not our fault.
Yeah, I mean, I never put anything serious in the little line at the bottom where you got to put in something. Be like giblet gravy or something or whatever. You never know what. But I wouldn't have put in gambling if I was a quarterback for a D1 team. Yeah, man, I'm going to throw some bucks down. Nobody's ever going to see this.
It honestly would be kind of funny, though. I mean, if you weren't doing that, it's like, hey, let's just throw it out there and see what kind of reaction we can get. Blackjack.
Not a good one.
Yeah.
the reaction.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there are worse things that he could have put, certainly.
Yeah.
But anyway.
At least it wasn't like OnlyFans or something.
Yeah. Thomas says you can also play the lottery a few times and not win. He said they should offer a prize to people like me who never have gotten a single matching number.
You're just Larry the loser here. On the,
Well, the scratch-offs, Thomas, there is an opportunity with those second chance games. Been told your odds are pretty darn good on those, at least comparatively. 7 o'clock hour is on the way. The governor, Tate Reeves, will join us in studio coming up in just a few minutes. Right now, though, we'll take a timeout. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
People want to hear the truth, man. That's what we're going to do.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Kids way down in Dixie, met in high school in the 60s. Everyone knew it was love from the start.
There you go. Pleasure being with you. This is Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. If you want to be part of the conversation, the C Spire text line, well, that's the best way to do it. 601-879-4395. Ready for your winning strategy? Here it is. C Spire. Join them today. All the technology and support you need to succeed at home, at work, and everywhere else. Visit cspire.com today. C-Spire, inspired by you. Casey on the C-Spire text line, are they not allowed to gamble on anything? Casey from Summit, talking about college athletes. They are not allowed to engage in sports betting. Hold on, I've got to think through this. NCAA scholarship athletes are not allowed to engage in sports betting, period. They can engage in casino games and not have eligibility questions. It's a little bit of a gray area, but that is allowed. There also was some debate along the way as to whether or not you could bet on other sports while participating as an NCAA athlete, and as it currently stands, no, you cannot. You cannot gamble on sports. No sports betting for college athletes, period. Just, that's how it is.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I don't think they need to be gambling. I mean, it's too many opportunities to do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And you're also getting paid now, and you got all this extra money potentially. It's probably better to put that up and not gamble it away.
Probably. I mean, unless you're good. I mean, what?
Unless you're good.
What if you're really good at it?
It might be your career, huh?
Yeah. David Fisher Land Company is where I recommend that you go for all of your land-related needs, whatever it is. Right? Whether you're looking to buy a piece of property where you can just hang out, maybe it's a property. That is investment, right? You're going to buy farmland not because you are a farmer, but because you recognize the investment potential that exists with farmland. Or maybe you're looking for a hunting property. Well, David Fisher Land Company can help. They have been in the land financing business, the land selling business, the land appraisal business, the land brokerage business for over 4 decades. Located in the heart of the Mississippi Delta, their offices are in Inverness, Mississippi, but don't let that make you think they can only operate there. Not only do they operate in the Delta, not only in Mississippi, but also in Arkansas and Louisiana. The website is davidfisherland.com, and if you go to their website and you click on current listings, you will see a lot that they've got available. Land that is for sale in Sunflower and Coahoma County, Oktibbeha County, Holmes County, Lafayette County, Arkansas, or maybe that's Lafayette County, Arkansas. I think it's Lafayette still in Arkansas.
There's too many pronunciations for that word.
Got a small plot at Friars Point, Mississippi, right off of Moon Lake. How about Tallahatchie County? Great hunting property we told you about yesterday in Holmes County as well. All of those available online for you to check out. Take a look at some of the pictures and then give them a call. They would love to help you out. David, Jack, Travis, all waiting to help you with all of your land needs. David Fisher Land Company. It's davidfisherland.com. That's davidfisherland.com. Interesting story yesterday as it pertains to the Ukraine and Russia. Now, the most recent news that we have is that Trump and Putin will be meeting, and that's this Friday, right? Isn't it Friday the 15th?
Yes.
There was originally a thought or a plan that meeting was going to happen in Alaska, but at last I saw, I think Trump said he was going to Russia.
Yes.
To meet with Putin. So that is the plan. Headline from the Gateway Pundit: exhausted Ukraine is ready to cede territory held by Russia in exchange for peace.
Mm-hmm.
Slowly but surely, Kyiv seems to be adjusting its territorial demands to reality. In the run-up to Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin peace talks, is it Alaska? I don't know.
This morning it was Alaska.
Yeah.
Anchorage is what I heard. So.
Okay, there you go. It's like a halfway point. It's where Sarah Palin's front porch was.
Right.
She could see Russia.
She was waving at Vladimir.
So it was an easy trip. From the Washington Post, Ukraine will reject any proposal that involves ceding territory to Russia. Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukraine will not give up land as Donald Trump suggests idea ahead of meeting Vladimir Putin in Alaska. Ukrainians, according to Rutgers, will not give their land to occupiers, President Zelensky said. The Straits Times, Zelensky says Ukraine will not cede land to Russia for peace. Bloomberg says Zelensky rejects ceding land as key security officials meet. Those have been the headlines, but now it seems that perhaps Ukraine is willing to cede some of its territory because they're just tired of fighting.
Yeah, 4 of those oblasts over there are probably the ones that are most in the sight range. We also have Kherson up north in the Sumy one. So there's about 6 different oblasts that Putin wants. I'm curious what they're going to be willing to give up.
And so Ukrainians' goals have shifted along the way. They started out demanding the return of the 1991 borders of their country, and then transitioned to, no, we're taking a stand for the 2020 borders of our country, and now appear, according again to this article at Gateway Pundit, that they just kind of want to keep what they've got. Like, just stop with the expansion, let's stop the fighting, let's stop the killing, let's stop the needless death, let's start rebuilding. But the question is, will that be enough from Ukraine for Putin to stop the advances? Will that be enough?
I believe it'll be a starting point if NATO agrees to not move further east and not bring Ukraine into NATO. Those are 2 things that Putin has been extremely
and that feels
adamant about.
But that feels like 2 different conversations to me.
There's multi-layers.
NATO expanding farther east is a very real possibility. Ukraine becoming part of NATO seems like a complete non-starter. Or at least It's kind of the way I understand it.
It's such a touchy subject over there because you have the Balkans, which are obviously always something where you have multiple ethnicities, multiple languages, and multiple religions over there that are kind of mixed in. Russia always seems to support the Serbians. And then you got the Caucasus area where you Azerbaijan, Georgia, Chechnya. And with Putin, he really likes to show favor to the Chechnyans because they are Muslim. And so it shows that he has some, that Russia is very diverse. So you have some things going on in there that really, it's almost like a vice grip where Ukraine is kind of in between it. And you need to get Ukraine solved because the problems that could pop up in the other two areas, the Balkans and the Caucasus, stirred by Russia and Iran, could be much more severe than what we're seeing now. So this is a great point to get to. Now, what will Ukraine be willing to sacrifice to have peace? Doesn't sound like Zelensky wants to give up very much.
Yeah.
And Putin, he obviously wants more.
Well, and you've got European leaders who don't want the Ukrainians to give up their land.
That's right.
Opponents of the peace talks are reacting to a plan that, as plausible it seems, has never been officially announced by either the United States or Russia, despite that meeting that's coming up on Friday.
And Zelensky probably will not be at that meeting.
That's correct. And the supposed peace plan would be endorsed by Moscow, and it included freezing the front lines in southeastern Ukraine if Ukraine agrees to withdraw from areas of Donetsk and Luhansk that it controls. So we shall see. But, we are 2 years, 2.5 years into the third year of this war. It's time for it to come to an end. And if it does, this will be another conflict, though it has taken longer than he would have liked or anyone else would have liked, in which Donald Trump will get at least partial credit for negotiating the end to another conflict.
And on the other side of that, too.
And that brings it to, 5 in 7 months?
Well, and this, to me, this war almost seems like a battleground to test new technology where neither side really wants to give up the battlefield advances in technology that they've achieved, and this is somewhat of a proxy for what kind of war is going to look like in the future. And both parties at some point are going to have to back away from this, and peace is going to have to be established.
On the other side of this break, we will be joined by the governor, Tate Reeves. Going to be in studio with us, going to spend the rest of the hour with us, and we're going to hit on a number of topics. We will talk economic development. Are there specific types of companies that the governor is looking for? What is the playbook for making this happen? When it comes to other states, is there collaboration? Is there competition? We'll get into all of that. We'll talk about some of the education gains in Mississippi. Could we see potentially the same type progress in health outcomes in Mississippi that we've seen in education outcomes? Could we do the impossible a second time? And we'll talk about some of those court appointments as well. We're back with you. Mornings with Richard Cross.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
What are we going to do?
Rise and shine with information and insight.
Check it out.
Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
I'm a hard-working man. I wear a steel hard hat.
I felt like we had to ease into the country music this Wednesday morning, but we got there. I like it.
You must have heard I was coming in if you start with country music. I like it.
We just took it straight off your playlist and plugged it into the big computer.
I had to go with hard-working man because I know what our gov has been up to. So
yeah. Glad to be with you this morning. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. In studio, the governor of the state of Mississippi, Tate Reeves, joining me. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Richard. Always a pleasure to be in, and good to see you this morning.
We have to start personal. Congratulations. Your daughter is enrolled in school, is playing soccer in the state of Tennessee. I guess you've been specific about that publicly. So at Chattanooga, and you now get to be college soccer dad, in addition to being the governor of the state of Mississippi.
Well, Richard, you'll appreciate this. I've said it. I probably said it on this show before, but I tell everybody, look, I do at this phase of my life, I do two things. I work and I watch my kids play sports, but not necessarily in that order.
Yeah.
And look, I'm blessed that all three of my daughters have found sporting events that they like and they enjoy, and I just think sports, whether it's at the high school level or at the collegiate level, is incredibly important to the growth of young people. They learn how to win. And they learn how to lose. And in life,
one is more fun than the other.
There is no doubt about it. And I sometimes tell a story. My daughter, who's playing collegiately, we were playing in a game. This has been 4 or 5 years ago. And look, I'm not a very good girl dad. I'm a we want to win dad, right? And so feelings are tough. But I told her we went and played a particular game and came out on the wrong end of that particular game. And in the car afterwards, she had tears in her eyes, and of course her mom was trying to console her, and I just told her, I said, look, I'm actually proud of you for crying. I want you to hurt when you lose, because in life, like, you want to drive to succeed. I mean, that's really what it's all about. And so, you gotta be careful with that when you're dealing with young females. But we've been blessed and have had a great time.
So Mississippi has been winning. Your administration has been winning a lot on the economic development front. But I was really fascinated. Bill Cork sat down with me at the Neshoba County Fair, and we talked about a few projects where there was a willingness to lose. And I'm wondering if that level of discipline in the economic development recruitment game, how important is that? He was talking about a particular project that ended up in South Carolina, and he said, they ended up paying a couple of $1 billion more than we were willing to pay. So $35 billion, I think that's the number. It's up to $36 or $37 billion now, and more in the pipeline. But a willingness to walk away. How important is that in this economic development process?
I think it's extremely important because we approach every single project with the idea of what is the ROI for our taxpayers, return on investment. Mm-hmm. If we are not going to get a positive return on investment on a particular deal, then we're not going to do the deal. And I'll harken back to early on in my tenure. We sat down with site development consultants all over the country, and really I wanted to listen to what their perspective was on Mississippi, and they had some really, really good advice. But the consistent theme was, look, Mississippi has historically been known for buying deals. In other words, we would spend significantly more money on a deal than any other state. And one of the reasons that Bill and I work so closely together and so well together is because we have the same mentality, which is we are not going to buy any deals anymore in Mississippi. If there is not a positive,
overpay. Absolutely
not. If there is not a return on investment for our taxpayers, wherein the money we get out through revenue, now not including all these ancillary things that are good, but on the deal itself, then we're just not going to do the deal. And I've been blessed in that I've been on the ballot enough that I'm confident enough to know that I don't need a front page above the fold headline in the New York Times every single day. I'd rather lose a deal that's not good for our taxpayers and not get the headlines than do something that's not good for our taxpayers.
I've worked in the sports realm, and I try not to use sports examples all the time, but this one felt like it fit. You see successful programs, successful teams, and sometimes the best coaches you'll hear talk about, climbing the mountain, getting to a place of success, of relevance, is difficult, but staying there is way harder. Mm-hmm. So once you have a handful of big wins, how do you continue to pile on top of that, to stack on top of that?
Well, I think you're right. I do think staying on top is very difficult, but it's also true, particularly with a state like Mississippi, wherein success begets success. Obviously, when Nick Saban was at the University of Alabama, he got really great recruiting classes year after year after year.
Yeah.
First of all, he's at Alabama. They've had a long history of being successful, but every time he had a number one recruiting class in America, it made getting the number one recruiting class next year a touch easier because everyone understood the quality of the program. And I think you're seeing that with us. I was thinking on the way out here back to 2014 when the first CFP playoff came out and both State and Ole Miss were ranked in the top 10. I mean, that's really where we are as a state from an economic development perspective right now, is that this is where we find ourselves, that we are out competing and winning every single day, and it's the quality of the projects that we're bringing in that excite me, and it's not just the quality, it's really geographically where they're located.
One of your Republican governor colleagues has been in the headlines a lot. She's doing a great job, Sarah Huckabee Sanders in Arkansas. How much direct competition head-to-head is happening with the state of Arkansas versus collaboration?
Well, it's both. I think Bill sent me, he's been at the the Southeastern Development Conference, SEDC, which with all of his colleagues, and they sit on panels together and they collaborate a lot. The governor of Arkansas and I, and the governor of Louisiana and I, and really we compete a lot, and we're all great friends because and that's really special to build those friendships. But not only do we compete, we also steal ideas from one another and we laugh about it, right?
What's working, and now let's copy it.
If it's working, we are going to steal it and we're going to laugh about it all the way to making our states better. And we all love that. I mean, we want to help. We want to collaborate. And I was just at a meeting literally within the last couple of weeks with my fellow governors, and I get more out of sitting around a table and just listening to them as to what they are doing in their states that are working. And I think, in fact, you'll see, we'll do a press conference later today, and without divulging exactly what we're talking about, it really started with an idea that I got from the former governor of New Hampshire and what they were doing around children's mental health. And so literally having those relationships with other governors around the country is incredibly important. And look, we're blessed that we got a lot of really smart Republican governors around the country right now, and Sarah's certainly one of those.
And you mentioned Arkansas and Louisiana as two where you're really competing. Is that because those are the two states that regionally are maybe the most similar to Mississippi?
I do think that's part of it. We don't necessarily see. We don't necessarily do direct competition with the two of them when it comes to economic development. I mean, when you look at those two states, Arkansas has the Northwest Corridor with 4 or 5 Fortune 500 companies headquartered there, obviously Walmart being the largest one, and that's a major driver of their economy. Louisiana is very focused in the southwest part of their state with energy projects and really, really large capital investment and capital-intensive projects in southwest Louisiana. So we will compete with them directly from time to time, but really we spend more time competing with South Carolina and Georgia when it really gets down to the narrowing these project sites down to 1 or 2 places.
Is there a specific industry that you target more than others, or is there a sector of the business world that you said, okay, this makes the most sense for Mississippi?
I don't know that I would say that there is a specific industry from an overarching theme, but we have to take advantage of the situations where we find ourselves. Aerospace and defense has long been a major player in Mississippi's economy. We have major players in those areas, and we also have a United States Senator now, Senator Wicker, who is chairman of Armed Services, and we have great working relationships, and that particular industry, as an example, is growing in our country. We have a commitment by the President, by the Congress, to invest in our nation's defense, which is the right approach. And so we'll talk about it, I'm sure, when we get back after the break.
We certainly will. Continuing with the governor of the state of Mississippi, Tate Reeves, after this time out. We'll get to some education outcomes, perhaps health outcomes, and a whole lot more. Back with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. From the Seabrook. Segment of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Hey, how's it going, man?
The news you need.
Every 10, 15 minutes, there's something.
The talk you love.
They really talk about the things that matter. I'm into all that stuff.
Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
I got rice cooking in the microwave. Got a 3-day beard I don't plan to shave. And it's a goofy thing, but I just gotta say, hey, I'm a-doing all right.
Good to be with you this morning. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. Appreciate the time of Governor Tate Reeves visiting this morning, talking hopefully about a lot of different things, economic development. We get a question on the C Spire text line, and this was one of the areas that I wanted to go. There's so much emphasis on big development and big projects. Is there enough bandwidth to try and help small businesses that are existing, rural businesses that exist in Mississippi as they try to grow as well?
Oh, no doubt about it. I think the existing industries, specifically small businesses all across Mississippi, are the lifeblood of our economy. They are the entities that employ the vast majority of our people, and so we see a lot of opportunities in the existing industries, and quite frankly, from our perspective, it's a heck of a lot easier for us to work with and convince an existing business to expand than it is to convince someone that's never been here and operated here to come here. Because once people operate here, they then understand what our strength is, and our strength is our people. And so, the expansions are really what excite me, and particularly, they're not the things that get the biggest headlines. I mean, everybody hears about AWS, and everybody hears about Amplify, everybody hears about Aluminum Dynamics, because they're multi-billion-dollar capital investments hiring thousands and thousands of people. That's all great, but what excites me and what's really driving our economic growth numbers are the investments by businesses that are already here. I just, I didn't write this question, but I'm sure glad somebody teed it up for me, because this is really what I want to talk about.
Hey, we may have to check this number, Lance, and see if it comes from a staff member.
and maybe it did. I don't know. But look, I mean, you look at just the projects that we have announced that maybe haven't gotten as many headlines. Because, again, I said it earlier today, it's not just the existing businesses, it's not just the small businesses, it's where they're located. It is the geography. So you look at a list this year as an example. We announced Yancey Engineering Solutions. They are investing money in Batesville, Mississippi, growing in Panola County, almost 200 jobs there. You've got a Southeastern Timber announced this year in Ackerman, Mississippi, 40 new jobs. A company like Camgian, which is located in Starkville in Oktibbeha County, only 15 new jobs in this announcement, but they pay an average salary over 6 figures.
Well, when you say 15 new jobs, it's easy to go, well, that's only 15 new jobs, but that affects 15 families within a city that has 20,000 residents.
Yeah, no, and by the way, they're 6-figure jobs, and so there are opportunities for people within that community to move up. Maybe someone that's making 70 or 80 or 90, which is a good salary in Mississippi. But now they got an opportunity to move up. It also creates opportunities for some of these specific specified careers for people maybe to move into Mississippi. And what we find is we're seeing more and more people moving to our state, which some of my constituents think is a really good thing. Some think maybe isn't such a good thing, but that's okay. Sure. We can have economic growth and keep Mississippi.
What about location? If I'm moving a big company in, I'm obviously going to a place where I think it makes the most sense for me to be. We've seen success in the Golden Triangle with the Link partnership. Ryan Miller was on with me last week, and he talked about this new partnership between Lafayette County, Yellowbush County, Tate County, Panola County, and that certainly makes sense. But we always get the question, but what about Southwest Mississippi? What about the Delta, areas that are frankly struggling economically in our state? How do you drive business to those areas while also understanding that the companies that are coming in want to go to the places where they think they can have the most success?
Well, and one of the interesting things about being governor is when you have a major announcement, I constantly hear from my friends, my local elected leaders, my legislators in areas that did not win a specific project. What about us? And the reality is neither the governor nor MDA nor the state ever tells a company where to go. Companies that are investing millions of dollars into our state are going to choose where they're going to go. But to your question, and it is an important one, how do you drive opportunities for those local communities to attract major investment? And the key is through the workforce development programs that we're implementing all throughout the state, through site development grants that we're implementing all throughout the state. My goal is to have 30 sites in Mississippi that are site ready for a capital investment to be made. We started that 5 years ago. The legislature has been extremely generous with resources to fund those grants. We've worked very closely with them, and we have sites located in literally every region of our state. You look at something like, you mentioned Southwest Mississippi. Natchez in Adams County has been very successful in the last 5 years at locating businesses there. They had a headquarters relocation in downtown Natchez, which brought hundreds of employees to downtown Natchez. You've seen the mayor's had a lot of success down there and reviving that community, and we're seeing success there. You saw
he's a high energy guy.
He is a high energy guy. I've known him a long time, and he's working very hard and doing a good job down there. And that matters, by the way, because companies aren't going to locate into a community that is struggling. They're not going to locate into a community where they don't see community pride, where they don't see the government services working for the people that they're going to hire, as well as anybody that they may move into there. But we've seen some successes there, and obviously we want more and we need more.
I know you'd be happy to talk about economic development all day. Let's see if we can go rapid fire through a few other topics.
Sure.
We got the announcement yesterday that James Maxwell and Robert Chamberlain are receiving appointments for federal district judgeships, which leaves eventually a couple of seats on the Supreme Court. We have seen at the federal level the importance of these appointments, whether you're talking about Supreme Court or federal judgeships. Those are lifetime appointments. And so long after a president or a governor is gone, those continue to have effect. What about on the Supreme Court side? Obviously, those are not lifetime appointments, but the appointments that you're going to make to fill those seats.
Well, first of all, congratulations to both of those gentlemen. President Trump has selected two outstanding jurists who will do a phenomenal job, assuming, of course, that they get confirmed by the U.S. Senate
eventually.
And I think that they will.
Yeah.
It will take longer than it should, but I do think both will get confirmed, and they both should get confirmed because they'll do incredible work on the federal bench. It does open up two Supreme Court seats in our state. They're not lifetime appointments. You got to run for re-election, but if the governor does a good job and appoints quality people, then it certainly they have an opportunity to serve for a long time. And I take those judicial appointments extremely seriously. For someone who's never went to law school, I told a group Monday at an investiture for a new circuit judge down in Forest and Perry counties. Little did I know when I ran for governor, I'd spend more time with my lawyers than I spend with my kids. But I do. But part of that is because I get sued a lot. But part of it is because we've had a lot of judicial appointments, and because of that, we have a very good process in place. I think we've made some incredible selections, and I'll spend a lot of time and effort and hopefully get two people to fill these two seats in North Mississippi that will represent the ideals of the people of North Mississippi, but also understand that their job is not to make the law, but to interpret the law. And I think we'll find good lawyers that can fit that mold.
We saw a week or two ago an announcement that a waiver had been granted for multiple states to change what SNAP benefits looked like for their citizens, getting rid of the sugary foods and the junk food. Is that something that is on your radar as far as seeking one of those waivers for Mississippi? It
is on my radar. I actually mentioned earlier that I spent some time with my fellow governors a week or two ago. We also had Secretary Kennedy, meetings with him while we were at the conference, and very productive meetings, and that is definitely something that we are looking into right now. And what Secretary Kennedy would tell you is, in many ways, a lot of these products that are now being banned in certain states are products that are leading to individuals that are on the SNAP program that is funded by the federal government, leading to some of these bad health outcomes, diabetes, etc. And it doesn't make any sense for the government to fund these products and then fund through Medicaid or Medicare huge healthcare expenses. And I think it makes sense, and we're looking into it.
Well, and I wondered out loud when we were kind of looking at that story. Mississippi, largely under your leadership, has tackled this education deficit that existed and has shown great success. Maybe that's even a bigger challenge with health outcomes. We'll see if perhaps could take on another challenge like that. We will talk a little bit about schools on the other side of this break when we wrap things up with the governor of Mississippi, Tate Reeves, joining us in studio. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk Mississippi. More after the break.
The other side. From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Coffee, conversations, and clarity. What a great way to start your Mississippi day. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
Amarillo by morning, up from San Antonio. Everything that I got is just
good to be with you this morning, and glad to have the governor of Mississippi, Tate Reeves, in studio. We've covered a lot of ground and going to try and do so in these last few minutes. The time is always too short, but appreciate very much your time this morning. Let's switch over to what most people think is going to be the hottest topic in the legislature going into the 2026 session, and that's school choice. If you were following the Neshoba County Fair last week, you talked a little bit about it. Speaker of the House, Jason White, talked a lot about school choice and the need to do that. The presidential administration, President Trump's administration, has talked about the need for school choice, even universal school choice across the plate, kind of across the board. That is a topic that people are very, very passionate about. Some are completely anti, some are all in. Some seem to be open to somewhat of a hybrid model. The lieutenant governor has alluded to as much, or has said directly with me on this show that he might be okay with district-to-district transfer. And yet with the Senate, we've never seen this actually get to the floor. Where do you fall in this conversation? How hard are you going to push the legislature in going down this school choice road?
Well, I think I'm going to push as hard this year for school choice as I pushed for school choice in 2012 and 2013 when I served as lieutenant governor. That's part of the conversation that really hasn't peeked its head. We've talked a lot about the successes that we've had in public education in the state of Mississippi in the last 10 years. We've gone from literally 49th in fourth grade reading to number 9. We've gone from 50th in fourth grade math to number 16. And we've seen African American students in reading go from 45th best amongst their peers to last year they were number 3 in the nation amongst their peers. And we've talked a lot about the third grade reading gate and the role that it played in that happening over the last 10 years. And we should. The Literacy-Based Promotion Act played a significant role. But I just want everyone to fully understand and appreciate that education freedom is not new to Mississippi. This is something that we have been doing. We created in those reforms in 12 and 13 ESAs, as an example, for special needs students. We created public charter schools for kids in certain districts. And so for all of my friends across the state that maybe are a little bit reluctant to talk about education freedom, the fact of the matter is we've had some forms of education freedom in Mississippi for 10 years, and the sky hasn't fallen. In fact, the exact opposite has happened. Competition works. The fact of the matter is that President Trump is 100% for more education freedom in our country, and therefore, by definition, in our state. I'm 100% for more education freedom in our state, and I hope that our Republican legislators understand that school choice is part of the Mississippi Republican Party platform. School choice is part of the National Republican Party platform, and the reason for that is simple. We believe in the individual. We believe in empowering kids and empowering parents to make the best decision for themselves. And so I know there are going to be some people that are against it. The fact is, and they're going to be against it, some for reasons that they think are valid, some for selfish reasons, and that's okay. That's part of the process. But I hope that the vast majority of legislators understand the importance for giving parents more options. And I say this all the time. If you show me a district, or if you show me an individual who is focused on doing what's best for kids, then I'll show you one that's going to be successful in education. Yeah. And there's no doubt that if you're going to come down, you can come down on the sides of institutions, or you can come down on the sides of doing what's best for kids. And I'm hopeful that the vast majority of people in our state, and ultimately the vast majority of people in the legislature, are going to come down on doing what's best for kids. And there's no doubt that more options are better for kids.
You know how the rumor mill works in and around Jackson and the Capitol. There have been some whispers. Will you wait for the 2026 legislative session for this debate, or is there a scenario where you might call a special session between now and the end of the year?
Well, I don't ever rule anything out. I do think that this topic is timely. The reality is that if you look at virtually every other state around us, Republicans in Texas and in Louisiana and in Arkansas and in Tennessee have all had this debate, and they've all implemented universal school choice. It's time for Mississippi to do something similar and do the same. And
that wasn't a yes or a no on a special session.
Well, I'm not going to announce a special session today, but I'm also not going to tell you that we're not going to have one. So we're having conversations.
We don't have time to dive into this deeply. Is it crazy to you that the race to replace you in 2.5 years seems to have already begun?
It is crazy. It is very early for the race to have already begun. But I'm going to tell you, Richard, I'm so busy working on economic development, and I'm going to let all these other people play politics, and I'm going to play governor for 2 years and 5 months, and hopefully continue to build our economy so that we have unprecedented success, regardless of who might be elected, as long as they are conservative.
Thanks for your time. Look forward to the next visit.
Thanks, Richard.
Governor Tate Reeves, 8 o'clock hour coming up next.
You're waking up to what matters. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Good time for me to hit on down the line. Heard it in a love song. Heard it in
8 o'clock hour. Welcome again. Glad to be with you this morning. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi. Long conversation there with the governor of the great state of Mississippi, Tate Reeves. Always appreciate his time. We covered a lot of ground, but the C Spire text line tells me we needed another hour because you've got lots of questions, some of which we were able to address at least at a surface level, and some that we didn't even get to. I see your questions. I appreciate those. You certainly can get into the conversation on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Your team has you covered on the field. C Spire has you covered everywhere else with the best technology for home, work, and on the go, backed by local 24/7 customer support. Learn more at cspire.com. C Spire inspired by you. Do want to remind you about one thing that is happening this afternoon. That is the Not Fall Camp Tour. It does not feel like fall outside, so it's not fall camp. But we are getting ready for the start of a new college football season. And this afternoon, Sports Talk Mississippi will be in Starkville. We were in Oxford last Wednesday. Next Wednesday, we will be in Hattiesburg. But this afternoon in Starkville at Two Brothers Smoked Meats right there in the heart of the Cotton District, Mississippi State will take center stage as we look at football and a whole lot more. That's coming up. The Not Fall Camp Tour is presented by Pearl River Resort. Find them online at pearlriverresort.com. Your home for family fun, casino thrills, and live entertainment. I think our next conversation will blend well or dovetail with the conversation that we just had with the governor. Patrick Sullivan joins me now. He is president of the Mississippi Energy Institute and is chair of the State Workforce Board. We got to visit a little bit at the fair and said, hey, we need to get this on the books, and really appreciate you coming in. Good morning.
Sure, good morning. Yeah, as chair of the State Workforce Board, that's a volunteer position for me.
Congratulations on that. I'm sure it doesn't take up any time.
You know, it may be a case where the state gets what they pay for. And so here I am. We've got opinions, and we're happy to share them. But that's our job, is to monitor the state's workforce development system. We've got a business-based board. Some very familiar names are on there: John McKay, Scott Waller, Nick Parrish, appointed by the lieutenant governor. He's in the construction business up in Columbus. Pablo Diaz over in Vicksburg. But our job is to make recommendations to the state, to monitor everything that's going on, to see if we are headed in the right direction. You know, when I was listening to the governor's interview, he was talking about return on investment in economic development. We take a lot of the same approach in workforce development, and looking at, are we investing in all the right areas in terms of student products that are making their way from the education system to the workforce? Are we maximizing our return on investment? And yeah, I think that's the topic for today, is having a conversation and going forward. This is not, there are no easy overnight fixes, but starting to identify real systemic problems that we have and opportunities for correcting those things.
Let's start with kind of the evolution of workforce development in Mississippi. I think back to, 20, 25 years ago, where there were a lot of communities that had the WIN job centers, and they were working with high school students that were maybe no longer part of high school to get GEDs to kind of put them in a position. There was, training programs there, but they were also working with companies who either had onboarding opportunities or maybe it had to downsize and lay people off, and trying to help those people find new jobs. Accelerate Mississippi has largely taken the place of, maybe not exclusively, but largely under the leadership formerly of Ryan Miller, and now currently with Dr. Courtney Taylor, who is just fantastic. Ryan talked last week with me about the steps that she has taken beyond anything that they were looking at when he was there. And then you've got local communities that are trying to develop workforce as well. So what about the growth and the focus on workforce development from maybe where it was a decade or two ago to where it is now?
Yeah, good question. So we are very proud of Accelerate Mississippi. Ryan got us started, as you said, started to put the pieces together, and then Courtney has really taken it and run it. I mean, I would say this about Courtney: we have got the top, if you want to use a sports term, head coach in the country. Does that mean we're winning national championships? No, but I do honestly think we're on our way. Wouldn't trade Courtney and her team for anything. They've brought real, starting with Ryan and then transitioning to Courtney, brought real strategy, mission, coordination, importantly analysis to what we're doing, to see how we're doing, how it's working. But also think about other partners out there across the system. Robin Parker at Central Mississippi PDD right here in the metro area. Dr. Basic at Hines Community College, a president who's challenging the status quo of how we do education. Not just doing it the same way that we did it 50 years ago, but looking for ways to do it that better meets economic demands of today. Mitzi Woods up in the Mississippi Delta. And so we've got some really good pieces in place, but we still have systemic problems that I think are just more, you get so familiar with the way we do things in government, and government is slow to change. And so we are trying to challenge educators and the IHL board and the community college board, and importantly, the legislature to look at ways. And so I think where we're coming from, to answer your question, is 5 or 10 years ago, we had some communities out there in Mississippi that were pretty good at workforce development as it relates to industry recruitment, meeting local needs, but it wasn't everywhere. It wasn't nearly everywhere. And the big thing that we lacked, I think, was an entity at the state level that could be the entity that is in charge, that is an effective coordinator of all those partners. And what we found when we started was just extreme disjointedness, all sorts of activities and parts and pieces, not really knowing what the other spent. So you had
maybe well-intentioned, but not coordinated.
Yeah, just real lack of management is what executive leadership. And we had millions and millions of dollars going out the door. A lot of it to activities that result in really no real improvement in workforce quality. And that's
you weren't getting the ROI that you talked about right off the top.
Yeah. Just to be clear, success in workforce development is when we train more and more Mississippians on an annual basis into what those good jobs out there in the economy. When the governor asked me to do this, he gave me a very brief but clear mission. He said, I want you guys to work on things that bring the average income up. And so we immediately jumped in and started looking at what are all the deficiencies. We've got all these employers that offer great opportunities across Mississippi. They just can't find qualified people. So the answer to that is to train more people into those occupational areas. A lot of those are at the trade level. Some of those are at the 4-year college level. But that is our mission, is in time to improve the quality of Mississippi's workforce. And the only way we do that is to train more people that are in that category of having the opportunity to earn well above average incomes.
And that's interesting that you bring that up, because if you've ever heard the governor give a speech where he's talking about economic development, one of the themes that he has been consistent with is growing household income, growing individual income. And that comes through more training and more skills and more opportunities. But that has been a consistent message that he has delivered. You were telling me that there's a new report that you've got, that you've been reviewing just in the last few days, that talks about outcomes from colleges, universities, and I'm assuming community colleges included in that, as it pertains to filling jobs and creating new opportunities. Did I summarize that correctly?
Yeah, so it may be we'll probably have it finalized next week.
Okay.
So the state has the ability to track student outcomes. And so we've got the ability all the way back to the individual student. We aggregate all the data together to protect privacy, but to track students as they go through the K-12 system, through the community college system, or through the university system, all the way into work. So we can identify the pathways that are working really well and resulting in good work outcomes versus the ones who are not. And so it could be a helpful resource. You got freshmen starting colleges this year at community colleges and universities, but also you have people still in high school who are considering their next steps. And so we hope this is a good piece of information. And the data doesn't tell the whole story, but it tells a good part of the story where people can assess and look at the information. Okay, what degrees are associated with the highest paying jobs out there? And so we're calling it the index of work outcomes from degrees from Mississippi's colleges and universities. And so we hope it's a useful. But here's some examples, of the way I see it. And, I think the governor would, and Bill Court could affirm that they've probably never been asked when they're recruiting industry, hey, tell us about how many English literature degrees that you're awarding, or psychology, or exercise science, or liberal arts. It's just, and the point is not that there's zero value in that. There's just no real economic demand for that, and our labor market is oversupplied. For one, with people with not enough education, but two, with
applicable education,
people with degrees that just don't really have a whole lot of value in the labor market.
We'll talk about what some of those degrees are, some of those programs are, and if you fall into a category where it's not one of those programs, is there a way to bridge that into where the jobs are? Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. Patrick Sullivan is my guest. We'll continue this conversation On the other side of this timeout, thanks for being with us on this Wednesday morning, the 13th of August.
And y'all know they won't.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
When they ask where you heard it, you tell them.
I know you heard it right here.
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
There's speed trap overhead sound of town, but no local yokel gonna shut me down. 'Cause me and my boys got this rig unwound, and we'll come 1,000 miles from a guitar town.
Good to be with you this morning. Thanks for joining us. Kind of interview heavy this morning, but I think some really good conversation with the governor and now with Patrick Sullivan. And Patrick's, we're talking about workforce development. He's chair of the state workforce board, but also works with the Mississippi Energy Institute, president there. And it's fascinating to me how those two things work together. The energy conversation is one that is growing as we talk about economic development, major projects coming on board in Mississippi. It's not always sexy to think about the electricity needs or the energy needs for all of these companies, but it better be there, and it better be there in a way that maybe it's never been there before because of those energy requirements that exist.
Yeah, the world today, just our data-driven, AI-driven world, the energy, the amount of energy that is required is just incomprehensible. And so we're living in an entirely different world today than we were 5 or 10 years ago, and there's lots of opportunities associated with that. Lots of challenges, but lots of opportunities.
This is not related necessarily to what we're talking about, but the most fascinating thing in all of the energy conversations, and people are just kind of talking around the edges of this, are the micro nuclear reactors. We know about the large scale reactors where you see the huge cooling tank and the smoke that comes from it, and the opposition to building new nuclear facilities, but these micro reactors that people may be able to power their homes with one day is super fascinating.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll get down to the home level, but
maybe not.
But small modular reactors is and it's still out there on the horizon. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's 2 of those operating globally. One's in China and one's in Russia, and so there's a lot of.
Our best friends.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think there's a lot of investment going into that area. So there are a range of companies that are developing. TVA, who does a lot of business in Mississippi, they appear to be the first company that will deploy a small modular reactor with. They're seeking a permit a license from the federal government, and then the energy secretary, Chris Wright, Trump's energy secretary, may be the guy that can actually drive reasonable decision and rational permitting process into the nuclear sector, which we've basically taken a whole generation off in nuclear, and he has
because we're scared of it, right?
Well, there's a lot. It's really expensive. It's takes a very long time to plan and construct, and so obviously that requires real policy backing. And we did that back starting with the Eisenhower administration, and then we built 100 reactors across the country, and then we stopped. And so I think Wright may be the guy. He has set an ambitious goal for the federal government to be operating several small modular reactors on a national lab site by next year.
Wow.
And so,
well, I think about, for example, the AWS project in Madison County. If there was the opportunity to have a modular reactor on that site that provided all of their power needs, not just today, but for potential expansion, what a game changer that might be.
And that could be the future. That could be the future. It's just, I think people need to take the long-term view. I think when you're talking about future, you're talking about 2045. That could be what we see in 2045,
which I guess gets here faster than maybe we realize. But
well, in nuclear world, 10 years is like a few weeks.
Sure. All right, so back to where we were. The education outcomes from Mississippi colleges and universities in terms of going into the workforce, degrees that set you up for high-paying jobs fast. What are those programs? I feel like we should know some of the answers to it. An engineering degree, a computer science degree, but what else are we talking about?
Yeah, I think the question we're trying to raise is to the legislature and to the IHL board and to the community college, our partners. We're all in this together. We're a community. is, are we maximizing the return on investment in our are the students who are leaving our education institutions coming out with good opportunities? And what the data says is that more than half of our students with degrees are coming out and underemployed, meaning that they are finding a job that probably didn't require them to have that degree in the first place. And so I think, you can trace back, well, what are all the
you
reasons?
You use psychology as an example, and not to knock on psychology programs. They've certainly got a place and maybe a great transition point for somebody that's going to get a graduate degree and go to med school, pharmacy school, whatever else. But if you graduate with an undergraduate psychology degree, you might end up in a sales job with a starting salary of $40,000 a year.
Well, and the data indicates that, you're going to the median. We look at median. It doesn't mean that there aren't successful people in that field. There absolutely are, but the data just says that we're oversupplying the labor market in that area, and those students are winding up in unrelated jobs, and it's in the hundreds of students per year, and the wage data indicates that they're winding up somewhere around average pay, which is in the $40,000. So we want to focus on more of the investment on those fields that are more like in the $100,000 median income, and there's plenty of those examples. But hundreds of students in general psychology, hundreds of students in English literature and foreign languages, thousands of students at the community college level in just general studies and that are making their way. Now, if they're going on to the university and earning a degree, that's a good thing. But more than half of them aren't, and that's thousands of students per year. And so, here's kind of how, when we track our public high school students from high school all the way to the workforce, what it shows is that more than half of our public high school students are winding up in the workforce with no degree or either no education after high school, and the wage outcomes on average are very poor. Doesn't mean that some people in those categories aren't successful, because absolutely some are, but on average it's a low performing, low return category. For the ones who are earning degrees, there's more than half of those earning degrees in areas like what we're talking about that just aren't valued out there in the workforce. And so, the question would come up, well, what do you do about that? Now, in simple terms, I think what we do about that is we find ways to stop investing public dollars in programs that are generating very low return. Like in the radio business, I assume if you've got a radio show that nobody listens to and nobody wants to advertise on, then you stop offering the radios. You find somebody else, right?
Yeah, probably so.
That's not a problem.
I hope that's not the case.
That's not a problem for you, but it's the same in the business world. If you're making a product that year after year you're generating negative returns on, at some point you stop investing in that and you reallocate those resources into something that's generating a higher return. We got to keep in mind, what we want at the end of the day here is we want more of our students, when they leave our educational institutions, to have better opportunities. And we, like what the governor tasked us was, we want that average income to be going up more sharply than other states.
It's not the case at every high school, but there are a lot of public high schools in Mississippi that have, in the last decade or so, invested, whether it's in terms of facilities or classroom space or teachers, in CTE, which is career training education, I think is what that stands for. It's what used to be shop class or, home ec classes or other things along those lines. We've heard forever, and sometimes I feel like it was like to cover your rear end. College isn't for everyone, and we know that. I mean, you have kids that go from high school into the military. You have kids that go from high school directly into the workforce. Is the emphasis on career training education at the high school level, can that help with what we're talking about, with these educational outcomes? Kids that are coming out with some skills that are setting them up to get into training programs or certificate programs so that they can get into service sector jobs. You get what I'm asking there?
Yeah, that's part of the solution. There's no silver bullet, but yeah, what we do in high schools is critically important. And so when we start to analyze, well, how is what we're doing working? And what we find is there are some good pockets of effective CTE in high schools, but it's not everywhere. And so what we found is we had far too many students at the high school level in CTE in low value areas, like culinary. And so what we're saying is, We're not saying schools don't offer culinary. We're just saying it's not effective for workforce development. It doesn't help people get a good opportunity. And you can analyze the wage data, and it shows that. We're not saying there's no value. We're just saying it's not an effective workforce development strategy in terms of getting something tied to these students in the form of a certificate that they can take and help market themselves into a good job once they are out of high school.
For the people that are going to college, going to get a college degree, give me in a minute half a dozen fields or degree programs that make the most sense for high-earning jobs right out of the gate.
Well, at the 4-year level, engineering, computer science, nursing, accounting. Ole Miss has a great accounting school. I'm a state fan. But, Ole Miss has a great accounting school. Finance. At the community college level, there's a whole lot of technical jobs. Automation and controls in the manufacturing sector, diesel technicians, utility linemen, precision manufacturing, machinists. All these things we need more of, but we need a system that's geared to urgently producing more of these things. And that's what we mean by when we have systemic challenges, we have a system that's not paying enough attention to urgently addressing these shortages.
So career coaching at the high school level that helps 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds develop a plan?
That is a piece of the equation.
Yeah.
And we hope to see enrollment trends change as a result of that.
Sure. Patrick, thanks so much for your time this morning. Great being with you. We got more coming up with you. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
From the Seabrook. Super Talk, Mississippi.
You heard it here first.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Here comes the blues. Found it down, loaded up and trucking. Are we gonna do what they say can't be done? We've got a long way to go and a short time to get there. I'm eastbound up, watch on Bandit run.
Long way to go, short time to get there. Although I feel like we've covered some ground this morning. Lance, what's up, man? You still over there?
Hey, what's up, Richard? Yeah, man, no, great set of interviews this morning. Both were on top of their A game. I love listening to Patrick, too, because he's, you've got...
Really, really bright.
Yeah, super bright, but yet you're dealing with issues in industry that there's such a, you can paint broad strokes and then you can get down to the very fine tune and details. And he, as he said, you got a lot of details in there.
It's funny, before he left, we were talking about that. I was like, I feel like this is a hard conversation for the radio, in so much as do you paint with broad strokes and kind of do the outline of a picture, or do you really dive into the data numbers that are sometimes hard to kind of visualize on the radio? So it's interesting.
And having the governor for 3 segments.
Well, he was outstanding.
Crushed it. Yeah. Absolutely crushed it.
C-Spire text line. Let's try and catch up there just for a second. 601-879-4395. I want to go back to a message that Thomas sent a little while ago. And I think this is fair. Tate's success is really fascinating to me. He has always been the literal redheaded stepchild of politics, yet he always wins. Other than a bobble that Thomas describes from the beginning of the COVID era, he said, I really cannot complain about his performance. And, that's the thing in politics, right? There are all kinds of different personalities that are out there. And maybe it's a personality that you jive with, or maybe it's a personality that you just, you can't get on board with. But if you strip that away, likes, dislikes, preferences one way or the other, and you just go to the accomplishments, good luck arguing the opposite side of the accomplishments point, because it is significant.
I have had an opportunity over many years, back when he was the treasurer, and it was probably 04, 05, sat next to him, and just some little get together, and I'd been around Tate Reeves many times, but it was that moment in that state office where, even though it was you 2, 3, 4 levels down from where you're going to end up, you could tell this guy had it together.
Sure.
Just having conversations, sitting next to somebody.
Well, he came into that state treasurer's office at the same time that Haley Barbour came into the governorship, and then he advanced from treasurer to lieutenant governor, now serving in his second term as governor.
And it is a great ascension. It says a lot about the way he's gone about building the Tate Reeves brand. It's not been one big step. It's been step after step after step. And I think that really magnifies and shines light on how he's gone about the things that he's done here as a governor, the great successes he's had, and recruiting.
Well, Thomas gives what I think Tate Reeves would consider maybe the ultimate compliment. Mm-hmm. He said Tate's success is based on one thing. At his core, he's a conservative. Mm-hmm. And that has informed the decisions that he's made and the programs and policies that he has pushed in his time, less so as treasurer and more in his time as LG in the governor's mansion as well.
But I think it's a great story. He is a great story. Mississippi is a great story, and he sits at the top of that ladder. We've got to give a lot of kudos and thanks to him and the extension he's had and continuing the great development and growth Mississippi's experienced step after step, continuing to put one foot in front of the other. So,
C-Spire text line, social workers don't make a lot of money, but they serve a huge role in our society. So are we only using the amount of money made to determine importance now? Decidedly no. Because if you're really listening to what Patrick was talking about, yes, median income is a driver of the data that they are studying. But the larger driver is jobs in which there are opportunities and there are need. There is need. Teachers. You come out with an education degree, you've got a job if you want to teach. Social workers. Coming out with that social work degree, opportunities exist for you and therefore have the chance to lead to success. He talked a lot about workforce participation rate, which we know needs to be higher in Mississippi. But it's about, are you getting training, education, skills, degrees in fields in which there is a demand for workers? And I think the larger point in all of that, and whether you want to talk about, I'll use my field as an example. A journalism degree from Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Southern Miss, wherever, on its own does not have massive value in today's work environment. The journalism field has changed drastically. Having a liberal arts degree with an emphasis in journalism or radio or television or print or whatever, that doesn't set you apart from the hundreds or thousands of other journalism degrees. What's going to set you apart is work ethic, drive, plan, relationships, all of those things. And I think the point that Patrick was making is, having a degree in one of those fields does not dictate success or lack of success. But when you are looking at the numbers in the aggregate, the larger indicator of success is when you come out of college, whether it is a university or a community college, with a degree in a field that has high-level need, you are more likely to get into a good-paying job faster. I think that's the overall driving point, and that's the reason that you come out with an education degree, you got a job. You come out with a social work degree, you got a job. You come out with an engineering degree, you got a job. You come out with a degree in construction management, you got a job. You come out with a degree in computer science, you've probably got a job. If you come out with a degree in philosophy, you might or might not have a job.
No, probably won't, yeah. But, the other side of that, too, is we talk about workforce development being a problem in Mississippi. I've gone through every bit of data and numbers that you can possibly go through. And we don't really have a workforce development problem, per se. We have it in specific areas where it's accelerated, it's worse. And yet I want us as a state to start having specific solutions for these problems, not casting a broad net, but really focusing on the areas where you have a catastrophic issue. I can look at the map right here in front of me from the MDES, Mississippi Department of Employment Security. I've had this. I've shared it with tons of people. We don't have a workforce development problem. We don't have an unemployment problem if you look at the national average, but we do have it in specific areas that are really bad.
Right.
And that is where we need the most help and we need the most focus.
And that puts the finger on the scale of the overall numbers.
Yes, sir. It skews it greatly.
One other thing, and as we move into the fall, this is a conversation that we are going to have more. I'm still doing homework right now. I'm still trying to get my ducks in a row before I kind of really go down this road. But we need to have a very serious conversation in the state of Mississippi about funding models for our colleges and universities. I think when we get to this point in this conversation, you are going to see that the imbalance that exists in per-student funding across the 8 universities in the state of Mississippi, it's going to be very, very eye-opening. And teaser alert, despite the fact that they are the biggest schools and they are producing the best outcomes, Ole Miss and Mississippi State receive less per student than the other 6 universities in the state by a significant margin. Does that make any sense to you? Like, on the surface, it doesn't make sense to me. But the IHL allocates those funds. There is a funding model that was adopted by the IHL back when Glenn Boyce was working with the IHL. And I think he was the principal author of that funding model. And they agreed to it and adopted it. But then that crazy little thing called COVID happened. It put everything on pause. And we operate in a world right now within the IHL system, the university system, where the IHL controls the funds that go to the school. And it's almost as if they say, hey, legislature, give us the money, and we're going to distribute it the way we see fit. Well, why is it working that way? Is there a better model? Is there a model where you reward educational outcomes? You award exceeding specific goals by providing more money than just, here's your money? We're gonna dive into that. And Patrick, actually, he and I were talking after the segment, and he said, if you take that a step farther, might you look at funding models where IHL or the legislature allocates more per student in the fields of necessity in the state of Mississippi?
Let's say necessity and merit, success. If you're graduating at a higher rate, you're proving that you're doing a great job, why would you not be subsidized more? Why would you give in more money? Because you're proving you're doing a great job.
I'm just telling you, if you stick with us through August and September and October and November and moving toward that new legislative session, we are going to have that conversation in great detail. We're going to dig and we're going to talk to people, and we're probably going to step on some toes. We're probably going to aggravate some people, frustrate some people, and make some folks downright mad. But we are going to have that conversation, and we're going to see what we can push right here in Mississippi. Final segment of the show coming up next with Lance. I'm Richard. It's Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass.
Check this out. Now, what can be offered to you?
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Information.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
I'm gonna take you to a special place that nobody knows. Baby, get ready.
You know about the motorcycle rally in Sturgis, right? The one out in the is it North Dakota? Is that right? North Dakota or South Dakota?
I'm not sure. I know it's close to the Black Hills, but I'm not sure if it's actually in South Dakota or not.
But do you know about the Little Sturgis motorcycle rally? Thousands of people expected to ride into Sturgis, Mississippi next week for the Little Sturgis motorcycle rally. It all starts tomorrow. And Sports Talk Mississippi will be there. You want more information? Here's the website, townofsturgisms.com. townofsturgisms.com.
And Sturgis, South Dakota is the other one.
South Dakota. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Western side, west of the Cheyenne River Reservation.
I have heard that is quite the event. You got some buddies that have been a time or two to that. And
I bet.
They say it is... You can see all you want to see.
Yeah, that's a polite way of putting that.
I mean, that is not category exclusive. You can see all you want to see. Yeah, sorry, South Dakota. I said North Dakota first. So, gotcha. Why should my tax dollars subsidize the colleges? Isn't that why they charge tuition to fund them? Yes. And there are people that would make the argument, hey, if a university can't stand on its own, then they shouldn't have their doors open. But there's a difference in public education and private education. And if you take away all public funding for universities, then you are effectively making them private universities, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, if they're standalone and they receive no government funding.
So the answer of why should your tax dollars subsidize the colleges? Well, it's because you, as a state, place importance on producing educated citizens and hopefully keeping them in your state. And we know that that's one of the issues that Mississippi has, right? I mean, we've heard brain drain a million times, but people getting degrees and then coming and going elsewhere.
Well, and public education
that would be one
is
part, but the another part is the universities in Mississippi are a huge part of the economic engine of the state. Huge part. Why do you invest private money into, why do you invest public money into private companies? Because those private companies are part of the economic engine of the state. And so you sometimes give tax benefits and you have programs that are in place to support them.
Well, education is very complex and complicated, too. There's all types of programs that receive federal monies because of research that they do and things of that nature. So, I mean, it's not just as cut and dry as, why do you subsidize a university? I mean, you're out there researching diseases and cures and how to make fish not smell fishy when they shouldn't and, making sure your crop yields. So there's so much outreach that universities do that I think it's hard to distinguish sometimes between the private and public sector because there are so many public-private partnerships with universities. Again, I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more of that. You got Mercedes-Benz sitting on the face of Alabama Stadium. Now, I imagine that's a pretty good paycheck that they receive to put Mercedes-Benz on that stadium. The Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Alabama. I mean, can you do that more with the private-public partnerships? You got corporations out there that are hiring tons of, students that are coming from these universities. Would it be advantageous to see that, if you're investing more money into the educational platforms from private companies, would you give them better tax breaks and things of that nature?
We talked last week about that happening at William Carey, right?
Exactly.
The partnership with Howard Industries. Howard is investing in William Carey, and William Carey is saying, yes, we will absolutely produce students that are qualified to work for you or others. You
got to start thinking outside the box.
Sounds like a great partnership.
And I think that's great. And Dr. Burnett thinks outside the box. Yeah. We're looking at the best way, not the only way.
President Donald Trump extended a trade truce with China for another 90 days. That happened on Monday of this week, at least delaying once again what could be a dangerous showdown between the world's two biggest economies. Trump posted on Truth Social on Monday that he signed the executive order for the extension and that all other elements of the agreement will remain the same. Beijing, at the same time, also announced the extension of the tariff pause via their official news agency. The deadline was supposed to expire at 12:01 on Tuesday. Had that happened, the United States could have ratcheted up taxes on Chinese imports from an already 30% tariff rate, and Beijing could have done the exact same thing to the United States. The pause buys time for the two countries to continue to try to work out some of their differences, perhaps clearing the way for a summit later this year between Trump and Xi Jinping, the Chinese president, and has been welcomed by U.S. companies who are doing business in China. You remember we went through that little tiff back in May where the United States said they were going to charge as much as 145% tariffs against China, and China was going to drop 125% tariffs on the United States. That would have effectively ended any trade between the two countries. So it's almost like that they both have shown an ability to hurt the other, and as a result have said, all right, let's cool off a little bit. And they've been talking ever since. Thanks for being with us. Really enjoyed the show this morning. Appreciate the governor stopping by. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
A Super Talk Mississippi media production.